Hey guys, welcome back. You know how fanatic I am for the racing genre. Cars, motorcycles, trucks, bicycles, it doesn't matter. If it has at least 2 wheels, I wanna play it. So, here's my personal 10 favorite racing games from the past generation. Let's take a look. Please bear in mind that this is my personal list, with my own choices and preferences attained by the hundreds of hours spent with each, and not based on what other people say all over the internet, so feel free to drop your favorites down in the comment section below. Let's start with a couple of huge disappointments, and with Overpass, that had a really good opportunity to make a difference. When I'm willing to try a specific racing game, my mindset is towards what it has promised to be in the first place, within its own subgenre. Most of the times, Overpass fails to get the premise it set out to offer, and because of that, I still need to travel all the way back to the year 2000 to experience a game with a similar but way more satisfying experience. Don't get me wrong, Overpass can be fun and enjoyable, but at the same time extremely frustrating because of its odd physics that can ruin that specific experience, mainly on those more technical tracks. Check my complete review if you missed it. Another gigantic disappointment was Dirt 5, that can also be featured in this video, cause it's also available for PS4 and Xbox One, so technically it's a last gen game. And oh boy, what a disappointment it was! On PC and graphically speaking, it's a gorgeous game, no doubt, but its extremely repetitive gameplay is so bland, with absolutely no feeling whatsoever, that I just want to complete it ASAP and move on. What the hell were they thinking when placing these invisible sidewalls? It's 2021 for God's sake! I recall being completely overwhelmed when Colin McRae 3 introduced breakable ribbons on the side of the road. And where's that so hyped Motorstorm inspiration? It's nowhere to be seen. And what about that deformable terrain present not only in the Motorstorm franchise, but also in 2007 Sega Rally? That was 14 years ago! Damn it, so sad. I have also 2 honorable mentions to announce, and the first one goes to Baja Edge of Control HD. Yeah, why not? This was the generation of remakes and remasters, and I can recall a few that were praised by the gaming press and gamers alike. So, and despite also having played to exhaustion the original game back from September of 2008, both on the Xbox 360 and on the PlayStation 3, I simply had to grab and finish also the PlayStation 4 and PC HD versions released in late 2017, cause you know how important this game was when my kid was born. If you don't know that, it's because you don't follow my channel as you should. Besides that, it's one of the best off-road games ever made. I've already reviewed the original game a few years back, so if you're interested, you know where to find it. The second honorable mention has to go to Art of Rally, with its gorgeous graphical style and minimalistic approach to this particular form of motorsport, and undeniably heart-pumping soundtrack. The driving model is really good, and the beauty in its handling is in its simplicity. We just need to master braking and drifting, but these undulating tracks distracting us with their beauty and cunning successions of corners and jumps are a constant test of our reflexes. No matter where we go, the view is unquestionably stunning. The low poly style combined with the lighting and vibrant colors makes for a beautiful game. Also, check my full review if you missed it. Now let's move on to my top 10 preferences and to the games I've spent more time with, both on the PC and on the PlayStation 4. Obviously that I've played other racing games on these systems and on the Nintendo Switch, but none really grabbed my attention that much. Also, I don't own an Xbox One, cause my PC is a better alternative to Microsoft's console, and every game I want to play end up also being released on PC. TT Isle of Man Right on the Edge 2 is one of the few asphalt racers featured in this list that really grabbed me. And let me start by saying this: no other racing video game manages to give you such a sense of speed. And the audio really helps to immerse ourselves even more. There's effective wind noise that changes as we blast past different objects, combined with strong force feedback and a highly strung engine. Our eyes will start bleeding really soon due to all the focus and concentration required. If we make a mistake, we'll likely hit a wall or a house at 200 km per hour. These roads are littered with bumps, trees, walls, buildings, odd cambers and other immovable objects. Alongside the stunning course and frankly incredible speed sensation is the vehicle handling. If you're after an arcade motorcycle game, this isn't the one. In TT Isle of Man 2, finishing a race without falling once is an incredible achievement. In the first hours of gameplay, it's an impossible task, be aware of that. But when we start nailing those curves at high speed and avoiding trackside objects, we'll be ready to face the real challenges. Again, check my full review if you're interested. Back in 2014 we had a new entry in the Trials franchise, Trials Fusion, a game that still has the power to hold myself hostage for hours in a row, both on the PC and on my PlayStation 4. In 2019 Trials Rising followed, but honestly, didn't grab me as much. It was even given away last Christmas. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart for free by Ubisoft. But the futuristic setting of Fusion is probably what makes me coming back to it over and over. I own this complete pack, the awesome Max Edition, that features a ton of extra content that were released as a series of DLCs during its lifespan. So there's plenty of stuff to keep us entertained for quite some time. The game is set in the year 2042, after an object fell from the sky and changed our world. And while playing, so many other things are happening in the background. It really has the power to grab my complete attention, trying to absorb all the details. Such an amazing game that I've reviewed in the early days of the channel. I invite you all to check it out. That way you'll witness how far this channel has come. Vegh Rally 4 has probably some of the most amazing fictional tracks ever in a rally game, packed with adrenaline and incredible and overwhelming views. Just look at it! And be extremely careful not to end up falling down these cliffs in Monument Valley. Vegh Rally 4 is a huge underrated game from the makers of the current official WRC games, Kiloton. It features a few different racing disciplines and a pretty decent campaign, but sadly, it received so many poor reviews that simply pushed players away from it. But it can be a lot of fun, mainly in its own online multiplayer mode, and honestly, it totally deserves a look. Nowadays I'm a bit saturated by racing games that takes place in closed circuits 100% over asphalt, that try to be as close to reality as possible, so be advised, you won't find stuff like Gran Turismo Sport, Forza Motorsports or Project Cars in this list. I've played them all, but they simply didn't grab me as much as the games featured in this video.
Left 5 and brake left 250.
As you might remember, a brand new IP from Evolution Studios was being developed and scheduled for release alongside the PS4 back in 2013, but ended up suffering various delays and was only released a year later by October of 2014. When Driveclub was finally on store shelves, it ended up crushed by the press that stated that it was incomplete and filled with problems regarding its online mode. Can't really say anything related to that, cause I only bought my very own PS4 in July of 2016, and by that time all issues were totally solved. As you know, all that bad press and negative feedback from players led to the dismemberment of Evolution Studios, starting by letting off more than 50 employees in March of 2015, and a year later, the main door was completely and forever closed by Sony. Check my retrospective and complete history of Evolution Studios to know more. I truly love this game, and for me, it's still one of the best looking games on the system. And it plays awesome with a PS4 controller. So in this one we compete in events all around the world in standard races, time trials, drifting events, championship tournaments in Canada, Norway, India, Scotland, Chile and Japan, offering an amazing day and night cycle and weather system. If you haven't played this one, well, you should. Forza Horizon 3 is pretty amazing and for me more appealing than Horizon 4 cause, well, deserts, sand, that sort of thing. Again, I'm not a fan of racing games that forces you to drive over asphalt 100% of the time. I drive my real car on real asphalt every single day on my way to work, back home, etc. So on any chance that I have, I grab my mountain bike and go exploring the wilderness. The same happens in video games. If I have the chance to go off-road, that's where you'll find me. Even so, I had a lot of fun with both installments, but my thoughts on Forza Horizon 4 is that it should have been released as a sort of DLC for Horizon 3, or even as a standalone DLC at a reduced price, just like The Lost Legacy was in relation to Uncharted 4. It's pretty much the same thing, only on a different setting and environment, so yeah. As for more serious racers out there, Dirt Rally 2.0 is the pinnacle in graphics, physics and handling in what rally games are concerned, and it only fails to be the best in that department, simply because it doesn't feature the full WRC calendar and it's crammed with paid DLCs. Shame on you, Codemasters, and now that you've sold your soul to Electronic Arts, I can only expect the worst. I just hope that by 2023, time when a WRC license is expected to be in your dirty hands, you think of a different direction to respect its fan base created around the previous official games, not only from Kiloton, but also prior to that from Milestone and Evolution Studios. With all that said, Dirt Rally 2.0 is a really excellent rally game that followed the steps of its older brother that paved the way for the success of the Dirt Rally series within the main Dirt series, if it makes sense.
Of a jump into 6 left, tightens of a crest, into 6 right of a crest.
And that obviously leads me to WRC 9, the most faithful representation of the World Rally Championship, with teams, cars and locations of last year's calendar, even if it was cut down due to this freaking horrible pandemic that simply insists on staying with us. So with all that in mind, let's take a ride on these gorgeous New Zealand landscapes, probably the only place in the world where we can wander around free and safe without COVID or coronavirus stuck in our minds. WRC 9 isn't as pretty and doesn't perform as well as Dirt Rally 2.0, but it features a complete championship, so we don't have to pay more for extra stuff considered as essential for the complete experience. In comparison with the previous installment, I've noticed a slight upgrade in the environmental lighting, on the sensation of depth, and on the attention to detail with believable shadows, dust and sun reflections on surfaces. Tiny details, I know, but these are proof that Kiloton indeed took their time to implement their expertise all around this new entry in the series, taking it to a slightly higher level. And apart from that, were contemplated with 3 completely new rallies: New Zealand, Kenya and Japan. So in total we have 13 totally different environments to race on through the course of over 100 stages, from which over 30 are completely new. I'm yet to try the PS5 version of WRC 9, so, and while that doesn't happen, I'll continue to go flat out on my trustworthy PS4. Again, my complete review of WRC9 is available. Check it out.
Right 4 narrow, 17 for finish.
Gravel is such an underrated game, and I truly believe that Milestone is already working on a sequel. I'm crossing my fingers. This one is so much fun, in the likes of Sega Rally, so if you enjoy truly 100% arcade racing stuff, I'm certain that you'll love Gravel. So many awesome locations to explore, but as you know, I'm obsessed with the desert, with Dakar-like stuff, so these particular tracks in Namibia are a treat for me, with rocky formations to dodge, tunnels to drive through, and plenty of sand. So much fun indeed, and you'll find a ton other incredible places with mud, water, gravel, you name it, with also a pretty awesome variety of vehicles and disciplines to embrace. The only downside is that the career mode is a bit short, something that all petrol heads will finish in less than 5 hours, but in my honest opinion, it's totally worth it. As you know, this was a generation of paid DLCs, so for Gravel, there are also available a couple more chapters and car packs to be added to the game, but follow my example and buy those only on sale. At least these unique episodes, Colorado River and Ice and Fire. Gravel was also reviewed here on It's a Pixel Thing, feel free to check it out if you missed it. You won't find a racing game like Dakar 18. The driving physics are indeed all messed up, I totally agree with that. But Dakar 18 isn't just another standard racing game. As I said prior, when I play a specific racing game, my mindset is towards what that particular game was set out to be in the first place, and Dakar 18 promised to be a navigation and orientation simulation, and it really is, a truly realistic one. When I see myself lost somewhere in the middle of the desert, panic can easily set in. I can really feel that in my own skin. There's no music playing on the radio, my navigator insists on not helping me at all, and when I get stuck in awkward situations like this one, the anxiety levels go through the roof. Mainly because no one is willing to rescue me as hard as I try. Dakar 18 is really different from everything else and tailored for fans of the real race that are familiar with its own specific set of rules. So if you're in the mood of crashing through brick walls like if they were sheets of paper, not suffering any damage, better look somewhere else. In the end of the day, even having the problems that he had with the driving mechanics, Dakar 18 is indeed a racing game, because we have to race from point A to point B, nailing through that process every single checkpoint to avoid penalties that can ruin the overall time. And the way to enjoy it fully has to be in its legend mode, the extreme and complete navigation experience, because again, it's what this game is about. Truly looking forward for Dakar 21, that will be released later this year and will include physics from the Mud Runner series. Oh yeah, it will be incredible. In the meanwhile, and while that doesn't happen, check my full review of Dakar 18. And the only reason for Dakar 18 not being on the top spot of my favorite racing games from the past generation is because we had Wreckfest. This is by miles the most fun and enjoyable racing game we had, at least in this last decade. This is obviously my own and personal opinion based again on my experience and not on what other people say, think or believe. I supported this game day one, still in early access on Steam and originally called the Next Car game. It came from the hands of Bugbear, the guys behind the, let's say, original Flatout series. In between we had also Flatout 4, also during this past generation, but coming from another developer that ended up messing up the series' own mystique. As for Wreckfest, it's basically a fest of wrecking. And it's hard to imagine that this game almost got lost and forgotten due to a failed Kickstarter campaign. There are so many titles out there not only related to the racing genre that have the support from huge companies with astronomical marketing campaigns that simply end up being a complete mess, and Vegh, practically on their own, offered us this game that is simply one of the best ever made in the whole video gaming scene. One of my 1000 games to play before you die sort of thing. Highly recommended, and online is so much fun. Another title that I had the extreme pleasure to review. What a ride!
É só bardalhada!
So here you have it, my favorite racing games from the past generation that offered me hundreds of hours of extreme fun and enjoyment. Many others were played, tried out, experienced, lived and hated, but these were indeed the ones that left that stain, that mark, that drop of sweat, making me come back to them time and time again. Let me know down in the comment section below your personal favorites, I'm really curious to know. In the meanwhile, if you've enjoyed this episode, you know the drill. So thank you very much for watching and I'll catch you all in my next video. Cheers!